Jade wiped the sweat off her forehead as she carried the last box of noodles into her bike's delivery crate. She was exhausted, running on just a slice of bread and a bottle of water, but she had to make every delivery count. If she completed this last order, she'd earn enough to pay half her rent. With a deep breath, she zoomed off, her worn-out bike tires skidding slightly on the road. She didn't care. All she wanted was to finish this and get home to rest. As she turned a sharp corner near a gated estate, her brakes failed to catch properly, and everything happened in a flash. Her bike collided with a black luxury car pulling out slowly from the estate. The sound of the crash echoed, and she flew off the bike, landing on the pavement. Her delivery box spilled all over the ground, and instant panic shot through her veins as she realized the car's front was scratched, badly. She had hit a billionaire's car. The car door opened, and out stepped a tall man in a crisp designer suit, his eyes hidden behind dark glasses. He surveyed the damage, then looked at her like she was nothing. "Do you know how much this car costs?" he said coldly. Jade trembled, stammering, I am sorry. My brakes failed. I didn't mean to." Before she could finish, he snapped his fingers and 2 security men came out of the gate. "Take her to the back." "She's not going anywhere," he ordered. And that's when everything changed. Jade found herself in a cold room, sitting on a plastic chair under the watchful eyes of 2 guards. She kept trying to explain herself, but no one listened. Her phone had been taken from her, and the billionaire hadn't returned since giving the order. She couldn't stop shaking. The car might have been worth more than she'd make in 5 years. Would he sue her? Jail her? Or worse? 2 hours later, the door creaked open, and the man returned, still composed and unreadable. "You'll work for me until you pay off the damage," he said flatly. Jade's jaw dropped. Work? Doing what? He glanced at her like the answer was obvious. "Anything I want. You signed your fate the moment you hit that car." Jade's pride flared up, but she had no one to call, no savings to fall back on. She nodded slowly, silently cursing her life. That night, she was given a uniform and shown to a small room inside the massive mansion. It looked like a servant's quarter. The guard who led her there whispered, "Better behave. No one crosses Mr. Khalid and walks away untouched." That was the first time she heard his name, Khalid, the ruthless billionaire no one dared to cross. And now, she was stuck in his world. Jade's first day under Khalid's command was a nightmare. She was woken up at 5 a.m. to scrub floors, polish windows, and clean every single corner of the mansion. The other staff barely spoke to her, and when they did, it was with condescension. To them, she was the stupid delivery girl who scratched the boss's favorite car. She kept her head down, too tired to argue. By noon, she was sweating buckets, and her hands were red and raw from scrubbing. But things only got worse. Khalid summoned her to his private office. She hesitated, then stepped inside the dark, glass-walled space. He didn't look up from his tablet. "You will serve me directly," he said. "I don't trust others with my space." Jade blinked in disbelief. What does that even mean? He looked at her now, a smirk playing on his lips. "It means you'll be everywhere I am." And from that moment on, she was. She carried his coffee tray to meetings, arranged his wardrobe, even picked out his ties. He never said thank you, never smiled, never acknowledged her presence unless to correct her. But what stunned her the most was how every woman who came to see him tried so hard to impress him, and he ignored them all. It was like no one could reach him. No one, but maybe her. Days turned into weeks, and Jade's resentment simmered under the surface. Yet she couldn't deny something was changing. Khalid wasn't just cold and rude, he was complicated. Sometimes, she caught him staring at her when he thought she wasn't looking. Once, when she slipped on the marble floor and almost fell, he reached out and held her longer than necessary. It confused her. Why did he care? One evening, after a long day, Khalid called her into the garden. She expected another lecture or task, but instead, he handed her a drink and said, "Sit." She hesitated but obeyed. They sat in silence, the fountain murmuring in the background. Then he said, "That car, it wasn't the car that made me angry." She frowned. Then what was it? He looked away. It was the timing. I was already having the worst day of my life, and you crashing into it felt like the universe mocking me. Jade blinked, stunned by his honesty. That night, something shifted between them. He wasn't just a billionaire with a bruised ego, he was a man with pain. And somehow, she had collided into more than just his car. She had collided into his story. The walls around Khalid began to crack slowly, but not enough for anyone else to notice, only Jade. He started asking her questions about her life. She told him about her mother, who died of sickness when she was 16, and her father who vanished after. She told him about sleeping in the back of the delivery shop when rent was due. Khalid listened silently, no judgment in his eyes, just curiosity. One evening, after a business meeting, Jade noticed Khalid pacing by the balcony, his face pale. She asked him if he was okay. "My younger brother, he's gone. I haven't spoken to him in years, and now he's just missing." Jade gently placed a hand on his arm. It was the first time she touched him voluntarily. He didn't move away. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Sometimes people leave, and it's not your fault." He looked at her like no one had ever said that before. From then on, their conversations became more frequent, their silences more comfortable. And slowly, Jade began to see it, beneath all that power, Khalid was just a broken man craving peace. She didn't know it yet, but her presence was becoming that peace. The next morning, the staff noticed something was off. Khalid, the man known for being sharp and impatient, had suddenly grown softer. He no longer barked orders at Jade or scolded her over tiny mistakes. Instead, he would ask if she had eaten or tell her to sit down when she looked too tired. Rumors began to fly through the mansion like wildfire, and some servants started treating her with jealousy in their eyes. One housemaid cornered Jade in the hallway. "You think you're special because you scratched his car and now he's watching you like a hawk," she hissed. Jade didn't argue. She didn't even know what was going on herself. All she knew was, things were different now. Khalid was opening up to her, and for reasons she didn't understand, her heart fluttered when he smiled at her, rare as it was. That night, Khalid invited her to join him for dinner, not as a maid, but as a guest. She was hesitant, unsure if it was a trap. But when she walked into the dining room and saw only 2 plates set, with soft music playing in the background, she realized he was serious. They ate in silence at first, then talked about everything, music, books, and even her dreams. She confessed she once wanted to be a writer. Khalid listened, really listened. And then he said, "Maybe you still can be." The next few weeks felt like a dream. Khalid started taking Jade with him on short drives to pick up fresh air, something she never imagined a billionaire would do with someone like her. He asked her opinion on things, his suits, his garden, even the new interior of the mansion's lobby. Jade was no longer just the girl who hit his car. She was something else now, someone important. One afternoon, Khalid fell asleep on the sofa after a long day, and Jade, trying to be quiet, covered him with a blanket. But just as she turned to leave, he grabbed her wrist, half asleep, and whispered, "Don't go." Her heart skipped a beat. She sat beside him until he drifted off again. She knew she was slipping into something dangerous. Feelings were rising, feelings she tried so hard to ignore. Still, the lines were blurry. He hadn't confessed anything, and neither had she. And then, everything changed again when a woman in red stilettos walked into the mansion, demanding to see Khalid. Her name was Vanessa, and she claimed to be his fiancée. Vanessa's presence was like a thunderstorm. She strutted around the mansion like she owned it, giving orders to the staff and glaring at Jade every time their eyes met. Jade avoided her as much as possible, but Vanessa made it hard. She'd make snide remarks like, "I see Khalid is into charity cases now," or "Some people really don't know their place." Jade couldn't understand it. Khalid had never mentioned a fiancé. The next time they were alone, she confronted him. "Is it true? You're engaged to her?" Khalid looked torn. "It was an arrangement from long ago. My family pressured me into it. I never wanted it." His voice was low, serious. "Vanessa is part of a past I'm trying to leave behind." But Vanessa had other plans. She sensed the bond between Jade and Khalid and did everything she could to destroy it. She went through Jade's things, tried to get her fired, and even threatened her. "Stay away from him, or I'll make sure you disappear without a trace," she said one night in the corridor. Jade knew she was serious, but walking away from Khalid now felt impossible. The tension in the house became unbearable. Jade started making mistakes again, spilling coffee, forgetting things, because she was constantly on edge. Khalid noticed and pulled her aside one evening. "What's wrong?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. But when she did, it all poured out. "She's threatening me. She said she'd make me disappear." Khalid's jaw clenched. "She did what?" He didn't wait. He walked straight to the guest room where Vanessa was staying and told her she had until morning to leave. "You don't belong here anymore. And don't you ever threaten her again." Vanessa exploded, screaming about betrayal and humiliation, but Khalid didn't flinch. The next day, she was gone, but not without damage. She had spread lies to Khalid's business associates, claiming Jade was using him for money. It was all over social media. Paparazzi swarmed the gates. Jade was terrified. "What if this ruins you?" she asked Khalid. He looked her in the eye and said, "Let them talk. I know the truth. And so do you." The scandal got worse before it got better. News headlines called Jade everything from the delivery girl gold digger to Khalid's mystery maid. She couldn't go outside without being followed, and Khalid's own team started pressuring him to send her away to clean up his reputation. "You're risking too much for someone who means nothing to your image," one advisor warned. That night, Khalid was silent at dinner. Jade knew what was coming. "If this is the part where you ask me to leave." "I understand," she said quietly. But Khalid surprised her. "No. This is the part where I ask you to stay. And trust me." Jade's breath caught. His eyes were serious, intense. "I don't care what they think. I care about you." And then, for the first time, he leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't planned. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. All the tension, the closeness, the confusion, it finally melted into something undeniable. In that moment, Jade realized she wasn't just a girl who crashed into a billionaire's life. She was now a part of it. But every moment of happiness seemed to come with a cost. That kiss changed everything, and the staff could feel it. Whispers turned into gossip, and loyalty turned into envy. One morning, Jade woke up to find her room trashed. Her clothes were torn, and on the mirror, someone had written in lipstick, "You'll never be one of us." She ran to Khalid, tears in her eyes. He didn't hesitate. "Pack your things," he said. Her heart sank. "You're not safe here. You're moving into the main mansion. Into a guest suite near mine." That move caused an uproar. The other staff looked at her like she had betrayed some sacred rule. But Jade no longer cared. If Khalid was willing to protect her, she'd hold her head high. Still, she couldn't help but feel like a target. One night, she received an anonymous letter slid under her door. It read, "He's lying to you. Check the locked drawer in his study." Jade's heart pounded. She didn't want to believe he could be hiding something, but curiosity gnawed at her. When Khalid left for a meeting that afternoon, Jade crept into the study. Her fingers trembled as she searched for the drawer. It was hidden behind bookshelves, sealed with a small gold key. But to her surprise, the key was tucked behind a frame. Almost like someone wanted her to find it. Inside the drawer were files, photos, and a journal. She opened it, flipping through until a name jumped out, Celine. The more she read, the colder her body became. Celine had been Khalid's ex, and according to the entries, she had disappeared under mysterious circumstances after an argument. The last page read, "I should have protected her. But now it's too late." Just then, the door creaked. Jade spun around. Khalid was standing there, staring at her. "Why are you reading that?" His voice was low, dangerous. For the first time, Jade didn't know if she could trust him. "You're hiding things from me," she whispered. "Who is Celine?" He stared at her in silence, then said something that shook her to the core. "She was the last girl I let get close. And she vanished." The air between them turned cold. Jade couldn't sleep that night. Her mind replayed Khalid's words over and over. She vanished. That could mean anything. Murder? Escape? Was she in danger too? Khalid tried to explain the next morning. "Celine had secrets of her own," he said. "She was spying on me for someone else. And when I found out, she ran. I never saw her again." Jade wanted to believe him, but doubt had already poisoned her heart. She started noticing things, a car parked outside too long, unfamiliar voices on the phone, a strange tension in Khalid's eyes whenever she mentioned trust. One night, while wandering the mansion's back garden, she stumbled upon a shed. Inside were dusty boxes, and in one of them, Celine's diary. Its pages revealed a girl paranoid, feeling watched, certain Khalid had secrets. Her last entry was a warning: "If anyone finds this, don't trust him. He's not who he says he is." Jade dropped the diary, heart racing. What if she was next? Jade confronted Khalid with the diary. He looked at it and sighed, almost like he'd been expecting this. "You think I hurt her?" he asked. "I loved her. But she got involved with dangerous people. I tried to protect her, but she disappeared before I could do anything." His voice cracked for the first time. I never forgave myself. His pain seemed real, but Jade couldn't shake the fear. Everything around her felt like a trap. She decided to leave the mansion, at least for a while. She packed quietly and tried to sneak out at dawn. But Khalid caught her at the gate. "Don't go," he said. "Please." She looked at him, tears in her eyes. "I'm scared, Khalid." "I'll prove to you I have nothing to hide," he promised. "Give me 1 week." Against her better judgment, she agreed. And so began the strangest week of her life, where Khalid opened every door, showed her every file, and even took her to his secret lake house to explain everything. That's when Jade found the real twist: Celine wasn't missing. At the lake house, Khalid handed her a phone. "I tracked her down last year," he said. "She's alive." She faked her disappearance. He dialed a number, placed the phone in her hand, and let it ring. A woman answered. "Hello?" The voice matched the journal. "Celine?" Jade asked softly. Silence. Then, "Who is this?" Jade told her everything. After a long pause, Celine sighed. "He didn't hurt me. I ran because I was being blackmailed. I made everyone think he was the danger to keep myself safe. But I regret it. He didn't deserve it." She hung up before Jade could ask more. Khalid looked at her with quiet eyes. "Do you believe me now?" Jade nodded, tears falling. The weight of doubt was finally lifted. She stayed at the lake house that night. Under the stars, Khalid held her hand. "I never wanted any of this to happen to you," he said. "But I want you to stay in my life. No more secrets. Just us." And Jade, for the first time, felt safe. Returning from the lake house, everything felt different. Jade and Khalid were closer than ever, and she was finally starting to believe she could trust him. But peace never lasts long when you've stepped into a billionaire's world. One morning, she woke up to a loud argument downstairs. Voices she didn't recognize. Khalid had visitors, angry ones. She peeked from the stairs and saw a man in a sharp suit pointing at Khalid. "You think you can walk away that easily? She was our way in." Jade didn't understand what they meant, but the moment Khalid noticed her, he dismissed the men. "Go now," he barked. That day, he avoided her questions. "They're from my past. Nothing to worry about." But she was worried. Especially when she noticed the surveillance camera near her room had been smashed. Something, or someone, was clearly watching her, and it wasn't just the media. That night, she didn't sleep a wink. Jade was determined to get answers. She followed one of the men from the meeting earlier. He'd been lingering outside the estate. She tailed him on foot, careful to keep her distance. He led her to a shady underground garage where 2 others were waiting. She listened from behind a pillar. They were planning something. "If we can't get to Khalid, we go for the girl. She's his weakness now." Her blood ran cold. She raced back home, heart pounding, and told Khalid everything. He didn't look surprised. "They're after my company," he confessed. "But now they're using you to get to me." "I'm not going anywhere," she said firmly. "But we need to fight this together." That night, Khalid increased security and made Jade promise she wouldn't leave the estate alone. Still, Jade could feel the danger inching closer every day. Just when things seemed under control, the unthinkable happened. Jade was walking through the garden when a black car sped through the gate. Security scrambled, but before they could act, two masked men jumped out and grabbed her. She screamed, kicking and biting, but they overpowered her and dragged her into the car. Khalid arrived seconds too late. The car was gone. He roared in frustration, smashing a vase against the wall. "Find her," he ordered his team. For hours, Jade was held in a dark basement. The men blindfolded her but kept whispering, "Your boyfriend ruined our plans. Now he pays." Meanwhile, Khalid was tracking the car with help from his tech team. It took him 7 hours, but he found the warehouse. When he burst in with security, he found Jade tied up, bruised but alive. He untied her with shaking hands. "I'm here. You're safe now," he whispered. After the kidnapping, Jade struggled to sleep. The trauma clung to her like a shadow. Khalid stayed by her side constantly, hiring a therapist, increasing security, even moving her to his personal suite. "I'll never let anything happen to you again," he vowed. But Jade could see the guilt in his eyes. She tried to be strong, but even a knock on the door made her flinch. One day, she asked Khalid, "What exactly did you do before becoming a billionaire?" He hesitated. "I was in tech. But, let's just say, I stepped on powerful toes to get here. People don't forget that." It made sense now. His enemies weren't just after money, they wanted revenge. And she was caught in the middle. Jade knew she had to make a choice, stay in his world and risk everything, or walk away before she lost herself completely. Before she could decide, an unexpected visitor arrived, Celine. Yes, the same Celine who disappeared. She showed up at the mansion, looking pale and nervous. "I had to come," she said. "They're planning something worse. They won't stop." She handed Khalid a flash drive. "Everything you need to stop them is on here." Jade wasn't sure if she could trust her, but Celine looked truly scared. "They followed me," she whispered. "They know I talked to you." Just then, a gunshot rang outside. Chaos erupted. Khalid pulled both women behind a couch as security engaged the attackers. The mansion turned into a war zone for minutes that felt like hours. When it was finally over, 3 men were arrested. But the message was clear, this wasn't over. Khalid turned to Jade. "We need to disappear. Just for a while." She nodded, already packing her bag. For the first time, they would have to leave everything behind. Khalid took Jade to a remote beach house surrounded by cliffs and ocean. It was quiet, peaceful, untouched by the chaos they left behind. "We'll lay low here," he said. "No phones. No internet. Just us." At first, it felt like paradise. They cooked together, laughed, and even danced barefoot in the sand. But soon, the silence grew too loud. Jade missed the world. Missed knowing what was happening. "We can't hide forever," she said. "We need to end this." Khalid agreed. He opened the flash drive Celine had given him. It held names, locations, and evidence linking his enemies to corporate crimes and bribes. This could destroy them," he said. "But it'll also put us right back in the spotlight." Jade thought for a moment. "Then let's go back and fight. Together." She wasn't the scared delivery girl anymore. She was ready for war. Back in the city, they moved fast. Khalid leaked the files anonymously to the press, and within days, scandals exploded across the headlines. Jade watched the news in awe as the same men who once tried to ruin her were now being investigated by authorities. Arrests were made. Businesses collapsed. But retaliation came quickly. Khalid's mansion was torched, burned to the ground. Luckily, no one was inside, but the message was loud and clear. You exposed us. Now we destroy you. Khalid didn't flinch. They've already lost. We'll rebuild from ashes. Jade stood by him through it all. She helped him move into a new place, a simpler home on the outskirts of town. We started with a car crash, she said one night, resting her head on his shoulder. Now look at us. He smiled. And I wouldn't change a thing. But the enemies weren't done. One night, while Khalid was away on a business call, Jade received a delivery at the gate. It was a small package with no return address. She opened it cautiously. Inside was a single broken car mirror and a note. It all started with this, it'll end with it too. Her hands trembled. She knew it was a threat. Khalid rushed back when he heard and tightened security again. They're trying to scare you, he said, holding her close. But they're not touching you. Ever again. Still, something about the message felt personal, like someone from that day had been watching all along. Jade couldn't shake the feeling that her accident with Khalid's car wasn't as random as it seemed. What if hitting your car wasn't an accident at all? She whispered. Khalid frowned. You think someone planned for us to meet? The thought chilled them both. Determined to find answers, Jade returned to the old street where she'd first collided with Khalid. The delivery company she once worked for had shut down, but one of the older workers still hung around the area. You were the girl who hit that rich guy's car, right? He said, laughing. She nodded, pressing further. Do you remember anything strange about that day? The man scratched his head. Actually, someone gave me money to delay your deliveries. They said you'd run into fate. Thought it was just a weird joke. Jade's heart stopped. She raced back to Khalid. Someone set that crash up. From the beginning. He looked stunned. But why? Jade's eyes narrowed. Because they wanted me close to you. And now I want to know who, and why they're still trying to destroy you. Khalid and Jade began digging. They pulled up footage from the city's old traffic cams, searched delivery logs, even reached out to Celine for help. What they found was shocking. A name kept popping up, Draven, a former associate of Khalid's who vanished years ago after a massive falling out. He wanted control of my company, Khalid said bitterly. He always played mind games. I thought he left the country. But it seemed Draven never left. He stayed hidden, watching, manipulating. He was the one behind the staged crash, the kidnappings, the threats. All of it. And worst of all, he was now working with a hacker to drain Khalid's accounts silently. He doesn't want your empire, Jade realized. He wants your downfall, and me caught in the middle. Khalid clenched his fists. Then let's give him a reason to regret ever starting this. Jade crafted a plan. She would pretend to leave Khalid, acting like she couldn't handle the danger anymore. Draven would take the bait, he'd reach out to her, thinking she was vulnerable. Khalid hated the idea. It's too risky. But Jade was firm. It's the only way to finish this. So the next morning, tabloids exploded with headlines, "Delivery girl leaves billionaire, says she was just a pawn." Jade cried on cue during a fake interview. She moved into a rented flat under surveillance. Within 48 hours, Draven contacted her. "Smart girl," he texted. "You finally woke up." He invited her to meet him. Alone. Khalid planted trackers and a mic on her. "I'll be watching the whole time," he promised. Jade walked into the lion's den with her head high. The meeting took place in an abandoned warehouse, typical villain move. Draven stepped out of the shadows, clean-shaven, dressed like a polished ghost from the past. "You've grown since the car crash," he said with a smirk. "You were always meant to be part of this." Jade kept her cool. "Why me?" Draven laughed. "Because Khalid loved power, and I knew the only way to ruin him was through something pure. You were that purity. I made sure you found him. And now you're going to help end him." Before Jade could respond, Khalid's voice boomed from the shadows. "You talk too much, Draven." Security swarmed the place. Draven tried to run, but he was caught. After years of planning and torment, the puppet master was finally exposed. Jade stood tall, looking Draven in the eye. "You lost." The aftermath felt surreal. Draven was arrested, and the media erupted with the full story. Khalid's name was cleared, and the truth shocked everyone. People praised Jade for her bravery, calling her the girl who brought down a silent war from the inside. But all Jade cared about was peace. Finally, no more attacks, no more hiding, no more being afraid. Khalid held a quiet dinner for her that night. No press, no fanfare. Just him, a candlelit table, and her favorite dessert. "I owe you everything," he said softly. Jade smiled, reaching across the table. "All I ever wanted was to be seen. And you saw me. From day one." They clinked glasses as calm finally returned to their lives. The next few weeks were calm. Khalid got back to business, but this time, he wasn't obsessed with work. He made time for late walks with Jade, movie nights, and homemade meals. Jade started her own little side hustle, an online store selling handmade delivery bags. Ironic, but it worked. They laughed a lot. About their insane journey. "Remember when I hit your car and thought I'd be arrested for life?" Jade chuckled. Khalid grinned. "Best accident of my life." But beneath the laughter, something more serious brewed in his heart. He'd been carrying a small velvet box for days. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for her to see how much he never wanted to let her go again. One evening, during a quiet sunset drive, Khalid pulled over near a cliff top, the same spot where they once hid. Jade stepped out, her eyes wide. "You remember this place?" He nodded, taking her hand. "It's where I realized I never want to face the world without you." He knelt. "Just like that. You changed my world, Jade. Not with money. With your heart. Will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes. She laughed and cried all at once. "Yes. Yes." They hugged like it was the first time, a perfect moment carved into forever. They sat by the edge, feet dangling over the cliff, watching the sun dip below the horizon. It wasn't just an ending. It was the beginning of something bigger. Wedding planning came with chaos, but the fun kind. Jade insisted on something simple. "No gowns that cost more than a car," she said. Khalid agreed. They held the ceremony on a beach, barefoot, surrounded by people who genuinely loved them. Celine was her maid of honor, surprisingly. "We've both been through too much not to have each other's backs," she told Jade. The vows were emotional. Khalid could barely get through his without choking up. "From the crash to this, you've been my anchor." They kissed under the setting sun, as waves clapped in celebration. No paparazzi, no pressure, just real love born from chaos. Married life came with its own twists. Jade wasn't used to living in luxury, and Khalid wasn't used to someone who unplugged the Wi-Fi just to get his attention. But they made it work. Their love wasn't perfect, it was real. They traveled together. Not first class all the time. Sometimes by road, in disguise. Jade even convinced him to deliver one last parcel with her, for old time's sake. "Let's see if the universe gives us another adventure," she joked. They returned laughing, wind in their hair, the billionaire and the girl who once hit his car, now partners in every sense of the word. But peace never lasts forever. One rainy night, Jade received a message from someone claiming to be Draven's sister. "He had a backup plan. And it involves you." Khalid took no chances. Security was tightened again. But Jade couldn't ignore the message. They met the woman in public. She handed Jade a letter, Draven's final confession. In it, he wrote, "I underestimated you. But I wasn't all wrong. You were meant to change Khalid's fate. You just did it your way." It wasn't a threat. It was a strange kind of respect. Jade burned the letter. "No more ghosts," she whispered. Khalid nodded. "Only the future now." Years passed, but their story never got old. People still talked about the delivery girl and the billionaire. Some said it was luck. Others said it was fate. But for Jade, it was just life. Unexpected. Chaotic. Beautiful. She wrote a book about it, under a fake name. It became a bestseller. Not because of the drama, but because people saw themselves in her story, ordinary turned extraordinary by one reckless moment. And every time she told their daughter how she met her father, she always ended with a smile. "I crashed into love, literally." One afternoon, while walking hand in hand through the street where it all began, Jade spotted a delivery girl struggling with boxes. She rushed over to help. The girl looked up, surprised. "Wait, aren't you?" Jade smiled, placing the box down. "Just someone who knows how heavy life can be sometimes." She and Khalid walked away as the girls stared in awe. The world had changed, but one truth remained: sometimes the biggest twists in life come from the smallest moments. And in Jade's case, it was the crash that turned into a fairy tale. Not the perfect one, but the kind that stays with you forever.